Hi guys, thank you very much for doing this. So we'll start with Rachel and go down the line. What are your names? What's your do you watch crime dramas? And if so, what is your favourite crime drama?
My name's Rachel. I do watch crime dramas. Not very often. I do quite like them, but I wouldn't say they're my favourite. But I'd say my favourite at the moment is The Rookie.
Nice, nice.
I'm Evie. I do sometimes watch crime dramas, but not all the time. My favourite is probably Criminal Minds, because there's lots of different storylines, but like there's a current storyline all the time with the detectives.
Nice. I love that.
I'm Immy. I don't often watch them, but I have just started watching Killing Eve, which I'm enjoying at the moment.
What are your favourite I mean, Evie, you've already touched on this with Criminal Minds. But what are your favourite qualities of a crime drama? Like, what particularly do you enjoy watching? What kind of either plot points, plot layouts, or like specific murders and things like that? I mean, do you want to expand a bit more on Criminal Minds? I know you've talked about it a bit, but...
Well, I just think like it's nice to have a separate like crime each episode, so then you kind of, by the end of the episode it's all resolved and there's no cliffhangers. But there's kind of like a common storyline going on with the consistent characters, so probably the detectives.
Yeah, I really like that. What about you guys? Is there anything particular which you really like?
I'd say the same. I think like a good in-depth storyline, but I think different each episode.
Like short,
crime,
like self-contained stories.
But then like also
Same characters,
the ongoing in between.
I think it depends whether it's like bingeable. Do you know what I mean? So whether you have like a lot of episodes and a long series and a lot of them, or not, because I think if you've got 8 episodes and it's one series, you kind of want more of a cliffhanger, like oh my god, what's going to happen, like the same storyline.
Well, then that kind of leads on to, I guess, just a bit more about a similar question but a different kind of feel, is kind of the idea of like plot twists or like cliffhangers, like you said, because you know you have some crime dramas where it is kind of just like the one storyline. You have some where there's like plot twist after plot twist after plot twist. Is that something you enjoy, or is that something that gets a bit boring after a while?
I think a plot twist is good, but I think it being repeated a lot, like the repetition of plot twists, it can get kind of boring and it makes things, like obviously it's not real, but it feels more fabricated. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like, feel that it would happen.
That's very true. So is that something you enjoy? So like crime dramas that actually are plausible? Because you have some which, I mean, you have some which are plausible and are from real life stories almost, and some which are quite obviously fabricated. Yeah. So like a plausible story.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be like based off of real life, but I think it should be something that could happen in real life.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's kind of nice sometimes if you have something which is not completely plausible, because then you kind of know like that's not going to happen, and it's like something that you don't hear about, so it's like something new. You get
like comfort from it.
Yeah.
And then, do you kind of, Immy, I'll ask you this, when you look at the crime drama, do you look at it as a form of entertainment? So a crime drama like Death in Paradise, for example, where you know you're going to get an hour of entertainment, some comedic laughs, but not very feasible? Or do you like a much deeper, raw crime drama that's more realistic and maybe touches on issues such as, you know, patriarchy or racism, or some quite graphic, you know, themes, but also some very real themes? What kind of do you prefer?
Well, I think it depends on what I'm into at that moment.
That's right.
Like if I'm feeling just want a light-hearted watch, then Death in Paradise is like a go-to, because you know that you're just going to get that set hour and you know that something will happen within the hour. But then if you're looking for something more that you want to like focus on, then I think more hard-hitting one is better. With I don't mind.
Yeah, like see that representation. I think that's really important. Awesome. And then more specifically about crime dramas in general, just a bit about the setting. What are you kind of looking for in the setting of a crime drama? What do you prefer to watch? Do you like a really rural, kind of in the middle of nowhere, or do you like a bustling city, or even abroad like Death in Paradise?
I think like a city, because then it kind of like replicates how busy the crime life is, and how hard they're having to work to find it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if you have it in more of a rural setting, it's kind of harder to have as many, it depends whether you're going for how many suspects you kind of want.
Yeah.
I think if you're in more of a rural setting, there's going to be less people than it could be who could have committed the crime. Whereas, as you kind of said, like a city is more like busy and a lot more going on.
And even like a town Like,
Yeah.
if we go with like Cuffs,
Yeah.
which we did in GCSE, then that's like sort of like a beachside small town, but you still get a lot of crime that goes on, and you still get a lot
absolutely.
of storylines from it.
Fab. And then finally, just a bit about characters that you like to see in a crime drama. So the main detective or the main protagonist, what kind of characteristics or traits do you like to see? So for example, do you kind of like the straight pinned, like, you know, neck straight as a pin detective who gets on with it? Do you like the more maybe like flawed detective, maybe like alcoholic or dishevelled or like going through divorce, or something that like subverts stereotypes, someone comedic? What kind of do you get the most enjoyment out of when watching a protagonist?
I think like having a mixture, if that makes sense. So like when they're at the job, they're very straight to the point, but I think also being able to see them like behind the scenes, maybe they are struggling with family life or something.
Yeah, I think having a backstory to the character as to why that they're like how they are, like their personality is what it is. So whether that be struggles at home or childhood stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think having like more than one as well sometimes is good. Like having someone who's more like the more like intelligent and like quite steady one, and one that's more like
Eccentric,
yeah,
sporadic, and
yeah.
maybe flawed, but also like an absolute genius.
Yeah, and comedic, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the victim. Do you like the victim that's kind of like the innocent, naive victim, often like a young, helpless girl? Or do you like a victim where there's more of a believable motive? So there's ones in the past where there's been quite a gruesome murder, but actually the victim was a sexual abuser. And so then you think, actually, did he deserve it? What are your kind of thoughts on that?
I think having more of like the imperfect victim, so like being less like, oh, they were completely innocent.
Yeah.
Like it makes it, I don't know, like it's less.
Adds more levels, maybe.
Adds more depth to
it
it.
questions your like morality, I guess. It's like, oh, actually,
Yeah.
do I want the murderer to get away with it? Especially if you're following the murderer. So in a programme like Killing Eve, Villanelle's such an eccentric character, and so many of the victims are sexual abusers or misogynists or flawed politicians that actually almost want Villanelle to succeed. Awesome. Any other final points that you want to raise or make? Well, thank you so much, guys. That was fabulous. Cut.